Good morning and welcome to this week's reading. We are finishing off our February readings with one more chakra spread. As I've been saying all month, I've been kind of excited to just explore a theme and create various different ways of playing with a theme, looking at a theme, and seeing that there are many different ways that we can work with archetypes or that we can work with flavors of what is out there. And so this week with our chakra spread, what we're going to be looking at is how to open space to allow the energetic system to bring forth what's ready to come forward. We've looked at clearing, we've looked at supporting, and all of this kind of different ways of looking at the chakra system. And now we're basically going to let the chakras speak to us. Um, and because of that, I've basically kept the questions pretty simple, pretty open-ended, so that the interpretation comes more from what's wanting to come forward, what's kind of popping out at this time. And so the question that I'm shuffling into the cards right now is, what insight is sitting in your energy centers at this time? So what's ready to be brought forward? They're buzzing today. All right. So our 7 cards, we'll lay them out. And again, like I've been doing, I have a general question that changes for each of the chakras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the base question that each of the cards are going to represent is, what is ready to be illuminated by? And then it's the red light of the root. So that's the piece that's going to change for each chakra. So what is ready to be illuminated by the red light of the root? And here we have the 8 of Cups. And the 8 of Cups is saying that what the root wants to tell us is that it's time to move forward, to move away from something, to leave something behind. And what's interesting is the 6 of Swords is also very much about a moving away from something. But this one is really, um, especially coming from the root chakra, it's saying that it's time to just have faith and to trust, because this figure in the card has their back completely exposed to whatever's behind them. So there's this knowing that there's nothing that's threatening behind you. Moving forward means nothing from the past is going to come forward. Nothing from the past can harm you, can keep you from doing what you need to be doing. And so what's really ready to be illuminated is that the other thing about this is there's no armor, right? And so it's safe now, I think, is one of the big things. It's safe. We've washed away all of the old, and it's time to really just be safe and to be vulnerable, because now in the root, it's about having a very vulnerable place to be, to ground into that vulnerability, that authenticity. And so when we're looking at, especially when we look at the themes that are going on in the world and everything that's happening in the world, having the 8 of Cups come up is saying this is an emotional point, right? The 6 of Swords is a different kind of parting point. This is an emotional one. This is a personal choice, a personal journey. And the thing is when we can't see her from the front, that means that whatever she is feeling, we're going to be projecting onto that, right? So it's this idea of the, in our root, in our grounded, in our safety center, right? There's no more need to explain. There's no more need to justify. There's no more need to have to defend. There's no more need for any of that. So our root is coming forward and saying, what's ready to be illuminated here is that the healing has done, right? There might still be lingering pieces of it, but the healing has done what it needs to do. And it is now time to be basically stand in our authenticity, stand in our strength, and know that even if it's shifting like the waters, right? Like it's not a stable ground when you think about standing in the ocean, right? The sand is always moving with the water, but that we're good because our grounding is within us. It's not on where we stand. It's not our beliefs. It's not our that we're taking. It is us. So our safety and our security is within us. Next, we're going to ask what is ready to be illuminated by the orange light of the sacral. And here we have the Page of Swords. And so the sacral, it's interesting being all about creativity. It's being all about like life force energy and the ability to have sustainable resources and sustainable energy so that what we're doing in life is feeding us, right? Like it's knowing those moments in our life where something kind of gets us all shivery and goosebumpy, right? And so the Page of Swords coming here is it's the invitations. It's the verbal kind of invitations because with pages, right, they're all about, sorry, with swords, it's all about communication. And so what's wanting to be illuminated is what are the words that light you up? What are the invitations and how are the invitations made that light you up? And like she's such a peaceful kind of page in this sense, and that she's calm enough to allow the bird to land on her finger. And so there's this confidence of knowing that when the right invitations you're going to know, because that's the other piece about the swords is that their clarity and they bring this freshness with them. And so what's ready to be brought into that sacral space, that creativity space, is a new way of communicating with it, a new way of engaging with it. And instead of being very aggressive and argumentative and, you know, I, I don't want to say like logic based, but there's a way that we have with dealing with creativity where, we look at productivity. And so we need to change the language. We need to change. And so this is the invitation that you're going to unlock a lot more life force energy, a lot more creative potential if you can change the way you're inviting yourself to create. What is ready to be illuminated by the yellow light of the solar plexus? And here, interesting, we have the Queen of Wands in the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is all about fire, right? It's all about confidence and the ability to stand in who we are and to, in some ways purify, burn off all the illusions and the personas and the masks that keep us from knowing who we are, knowing our value, knowing our worth, knowing everything that's important about us. Not necessarily from a prideful, I'm better than you stance, but from a, I am very confident that this is who I am, and there's no need to justify. There's no need to have to chase after people and receive external validation. And the Queen of Wands is very much like that. She is a very driven, very passionate woman who knows what she wants and is open to her desires, right? There's no shame when she's chasing after what it is that she wants. There can be what is seen as like aggressive activities and that kind of bitch attitude that people put on women who are very driven, who are very motivated, but who very much know themselves, right? The Queen of Wands is saying it is time to stop allowing other things to dictate who you are. And what I really like about having the Queen of Wands here is that what's ready to come forward is that this is a personal journey. This is a personal stance, right? This is something that we're doing so that we can create firm boundaries, so that we know our limits, so that we know what fires us up, what's passionate, what our desires are, what our motivations are, so that when we follow them, guilt won't chase us, shame won't chase us. Nothing will stop us until we reach what it is that we want because we know that this is what is for us. And, the queens are very, very powerful. And at the same time, they indicate the inner journeys that we go on. And so having the Queen of Wands here in the solar plexus is a very big indication that it is time to burn away the stories that keep us from being able to inhabit our entire self. And that doesn't mean just the body. Inhabiting our entire selves means taking up the space that our energetic system takes up. It means having the ability to have our word be heard, to be out in there instead of only in our head. So we've got some pretty powerful things that are coming forward right now. And it's interesting because in real time, we are 2 days, I believe, before the Lunar New Year of 2026. And so there's a lot of things that are kind of dropping off as we're moving into this new year. And so having these cards come up with these very powerful messages, and I will say, right, they're powerful messages, but they're still challenging, right? Because to have to be able to turn your back on everything that's behind you and walk away with no concern that someone's going to still come up and stab you in the back takes a lot of courage. And what it does is it takes a lot of self-understanding. You know, the Queen of Wands, if we allow this part of ourselves to come forward, we can then move forward. We can change how we talk to ourselves, how we talk about ourselves, and really be able to move toward what it is that we want, free of the chains of the past, right? It's not saying we're going to pretend that the past never happened. It's that when we talk to people and we say, you know, when this happened, and we're using it as justification for who we are, that's what's going to drop off. There's still going to be those events that happened. However, with the changing of the language, they will no longer be our script. We will be looking at creating new stories and new scripts. What is ready to be illuminated by the green light of the heart? And here we have the gentle heart is bringing forward our first major card, which right now is sitting in the middle of the spread as well. So here we have death. And death is, you know, it's really interesting to have that in the middle, because our groundingness, our earthiness, right, has said it's time to let go of the past. Death of identity. It is time to change the way we communicate and the way we invite ourselves. Death of language structures. It is time to purify ourselves and to stand in our self-confidence, in our value, and be who we are, and value and follow and chase everything that is, you know, passionate and driving for us. Death of low self-esteem, death of masks, right? So there's a lot that this is pulling in. And what the heart is saying is that it's really time to allow the things that keep stabbing the heart, that keep keeping the heart from being kind and loving and compassionate. It's time to let it go. It's time to return it to the universe, allow it to compost, so that we can then take in what we will be able to embody as a more loving, as a more compassionate person. And again, this is the major theme that's going on right now across the globe. It's about really allowing the old systems, the old beliefs, the old ways of doing everything, right? The old ways of doing business, the old ways of healthcare systems, the old way of education, the old way of being in relationships with people, the old ways of family. Those are all things that need to be discombobulated, taken apart, examined, so that the gems of the systems, the gems of those different times, can be kept and be used to help bring forward that new ideal. Well, not ideal, because ideals are always flawed as well, right? But it's the whole point is that what we have been doing up to now is it's dying, right? I think of this, and I think of all the ways that we will try to artificially revive or prolong things that we see are wrong and that are dying and that are broken, only because it seems easier, right? And so this is a really big one. And the other thing that I will say is that with the heart, with this being in the heart, there's a lot of grieving that needs to be taken place, right? Because we have to, when you admit that the systems are broken, when you admit that there are flaws, when you admit that there are things that we have experienced in our lives, that have contributed to the stories that we tell about ourselves, there has to be time for grief. There has to be time for it to transform into what is coming. So now we're going to ask, what is ready to be illuminated by the blue light of the throat? Another major arcana card. Isn't it interesting that when we have death that clears the way for the heart to be free, that the thing that our voice, our throat is bringing forward is the magician. And the magician is all about our inner power, our inner strength, our inner gifts, to be able to alchemize everything that's come before and to manifest into the world what we know is, you know, coming from our heart. And when we allow like all of the old that needs to be let go to pass and to move out of our energetic system, then the magician is able to create with freedom, with a clean slate, with all of that confidence that we've curated from the Queen of Wands, right? Is able to verbalize and vocalize what it is that's wanting to be created and is doing it from our own stance, right? And so having two back-to-back major arcana cards here is really telling that this is where a lot, the heart and the throat, right? Feeling and loving and embodying that wholeness without, and I'm going to say this, without bypassing, because the thing is you can be angry, you can be frustrated, but you can still love yourself while that's happening. And then as long as you can love yourself and hold that love and be very confident in who you are, you can create anything that you want. So what is ready to be illuminated by the indigo light of the third eye? And here we have the Nine of Cups. So the Nine of Cups, you know, in the third eye, our place of imaginations, our place of visualizations, our place of potential and possibility, right? It's crying out to see these things happen so that it can once again come out of imagining worst case scenarios and start imagining the utopia, the places that it wants to inhabit, that it wants to be part of. And, you know, once you're able to kind of say, these are all the systems and structures within my life, right? We won't even go into the bigger global world, but these are the patterns, these are the habits, these are the things in my life that keep me small, that keep me from standing in my space, that keep me from being true and authentic, then the communities that you get involved with are going to reflect that back to you. And what the third eye is saying is that the more that you clear yourself, the more that your energy is pure, the more that you are in alignment with who you are and what it is that you want, the more you're going to attract the people that see you, not the wounded you, that see you, right? And so this is what the third eye is calling for. The third eye is calling for those small steps, those pathways that's going to bring forth closer connection and more celebration and more life, right? And the cups are all about community. They're all about creativity. They're all about, you know, the lived ideal and everything. And the other thing for me is I always like to look at the Nine of Cups as the wishing card, right? You have the star card of the major arcana, which is like a big hitter, but then like its baby sister kind of is the Nine of Cups. And this is everyday wishes coming true. What is ready to be illuminated by the purple light of the crown? And here we have the Six of Coins. And the Six of Coins is an interesting one to have here because what it's saying is that open up to receive. This card is all about being able to stand in your worth and your value and know that if you are receiving, you are still valuable. You are still lovable. There is nothing wrong with receiving, right? Because when we're small, that's all we do is we receive. But somewhere along the lines of growing up, we switch from being able to receive to going into this, we can only give. We can only give. We're only as good as what we can give, right? And so the universe is standing there and lovingly holding us and saying, I have so much for you. And as soon as you can walk away from the limits, walk away from everything that's keeping you in scarcity, that's keeping you in crisis, that's keeping you from seeing what you have, you start telling a different story. You start creating in a different way. You own who you are. You own yourself. You allow what is past, what has served its purpose, what is ready to leave. You allow it to go with love and grace. You honor it as it passes. You grieve for it, and you allow it to return to the universe, to the earth. You really begin to step into putting your voice behind what it is that you want to create. You co-create with the universe. You send your wishes out. You play with possibilities. You invite in the communities that are really going to support you. And when you can do that, you'll finally be ready to open to receive from the universe, knowing there's no strings. The universe isn't testing. It's not, I'll give you this and then I'll take this away. It is just complete blessings of abundance. And you know, it's at this point, the crown just wants us to receive. It just wants us to be reconnected and reunited and know that is a very strong bond that's put back together in place. So let's see. I've gotten off a couple of times, missing the cards because it's fun to play with the cards that have really no words on it. And so what's also coming forward for us right now is that we have to double check. So we have two cups. So right now there's a cleansing going on. The chakras are saying, hey, you know what? This is a time for cleansing. This is a time of release. And we have the 8 followed by the 9, right? So it's saying this is a journey that's almost done. And we're getting closer. And the things are starting to pop out. And we're starting to see the patterns. We're starting to see the signs. We're releasing the trapped stuff. We're letting it go. We're purifying it. We're understanding, we're coming into a new understanding of how we communicate, of how we express ourselves, of what it is that we want to say, and how we can use a new vocabulary to bring that clarity in. We're really stepping into our power. We're owning who we are. We're burning away all of the illusions and the fake personas that we're inhabiting and really allowing ourselves to be us. We're grounding into the earth, right? Like, so we have two cups, but everything else we have one. So everything, all of the elements are balanced in this. There's nothing that's fighting over the other. And then we have the two major arcana cards, which are basically saying, let the old go. This is a cosmic karmic thing on a global scale of letting it go. Let it go. Stop fighting. Stop keeping it here. Just let it go in peace. And then the magician who's saying, like once we can do that, we can usher in whatever it is that we can imagine. And I mean, considering you've got the magician followed by the wish card, right? We can imagine many things. And then if we work with that energy of the throat chakra, then we can really tap in and make a partnership between these two cards where we're imagining, even if it's just small, infinite possibilities and potentials, they will eventually accumulate into like something we couldn't probably even imagine at this point. And so that brings an end to our current exploration of the chakras. We may go back to them at a later date, but for right now, that has been a great deep dive into the chakras. For me, I have really enjoyed doing this. I hope if you've watched the videos that you have enjoyed them, that you've received some kind of clarity, that you've had a bit of an aha moment, and that you continue to keep tuning in to see what comes up, because every week I feel is a new adventure, and I'm really enjoying this and curious myself to see where we go for March. In the meantime, if you liked what you heard, please like the video. If you want more, please subscribe, and I will see you around the webs. Take care.